So we're moving towards the latter part of our winter retreat. Say, what is it? Let's see, 11th of March today. So it's there's a few weeks left, but it's good to use the time really skillfully to try to laying the foundation for our practice, our training, not just during the retreat, but for our growth in the Dhamma in the future. And one of the teachings that the Buddha gave are just the basis of right view. And of course, right view is just so essential, so important, and to really be paying attention to how do we lay that foundation of right view, because we can practice really diligently, but without right view, then the results are questionable sometimes, or spotty, and what the Buddha points to is just two conditions for right view. And one is an external condition, one is internal condition. External condition, parato kosa, the hearing the voice of another, literally. So listening to Dhamma teachings, listening to the and of course that covers study, reading, but the that external input for Dhamma, and then yoniso manasikara, the wise reflection, considered attention, that reflection, contemplation is really important for that arising of right view. And of course that's what will guide and shape our cultivation of the whole path, our whole cultivation of our precepts, how we hold precepts, how we approach virtue and integrity, just having right view as a foundation, how we develop our samadhi practice, our pursuit of calm and settled mind, settled states of being, and the understanding, wisdom, discernment that arises are very much dependent on right view. And of course, this is something that Ajahn Chah used to place a tremendous importance on. I think so many of his students, disciples, you see how they've taken it to heart, whether it's the kind of Westerners or the Thais, and it's that a kind of an open, not being stuck in technique or obsessed with technique, as we can. There are many places of practice where it's just this. The method technique is the all and important basis for how of the approach, and it's not that appropriate methods and techniques aren't useful, but it's just making sure that they're in the employ of right view is what's most important. Whatever technique or method we pick up, is it for the establishing of right view? Is it for an increase of wholesome states? Is it for the decrease of unwholesome states? Is it for really developing the path? So that sense of learning how to use reflection and investigation. Of course, it is part of the like right now we're in our readings that's on the 7 factors of awakening, and the second factor of the 7 factors of awakening is investigation of states, Dhamma Vicaya, contemplation, investigation. So this learning how to use reflection, and there's a beautiful image that the Buddha himself uses in terms of reflection. He's teaching his son Rahula, and asking Rahula, what's a mirror for? And Rahula replies, well, it's for reflecting. And the Buddha said, yes, in the same way. That reflecting is essential for the development of this path of Dhamma, reflecting on our actions of body, of actions of speech, actions of mind, so that we really do learn and understand the nature of the mind and the nature of our, because when we think of in contemplating actions, it's like the cause and effect processes, the conditioning and conditioned processes of our human experience, being able to reflect and understand, how does this work? And that's certainly how the Buddha, one was drawn into living the holy life, that sense of reflecting deeply on his experience as a human being and others' experience, and what what's the point of it all? What's the nature of this existence? And you say, well, gosh, it's just so much pain and difficulty, and so much that is unsatisfactory. What's happening here? Why is it like this? What can be done about it? Do we just have to be stuck with it? And of course, that's not at all what the Buddha came up with as an understanding, and as a result of this, his own aspiration and efforts, but deep reflection. There is this sense of what is unsatisfactory and frustrating, but there's also freedom. There's freedom from that. There's the possibility of freedom, of liberation, of true peace and happiness that isn't bound by conditions. So but learning how to use that the reflection, and in learning how to use reflection, we need to be paying attention to, well, what's just thinking and proliferating and just stirring up the mind, and what's reflection that is actually leading to peace, leading to freedom from suffering. And that it's just so important to recognize that, the Buddha qualifies. There is wise reflection and there is unwise reflection. There is wise attention and there is unwise attention, and they have very different results. And learning how to pay attention to well, what is the results of my investigating, from my contemplation, my reflection, and fostering the qualities that bring up well-being, stability, clarity of heart, because that's certainly the appropriate or the desired result for applied reflection. And recognizing that it's not just an intellectual pursuit, but that wise reflection is really an inclination of the heart, inclining the heart to consider our experience, our thought processes, emotional processes, our interactions with the world around us. How does it affect the heart? How do we feel? So not what do we think about it, or what opinion do I have about it. Everybody's got opinions. I mean, it doesn't take much to conjure up an opinion of something, but to be able to really recognize clearly what's my, how does it move the heart? How does it, and how do I reflect and consider, investigate, so that the heart is steady and still and clear. So these are these are explorations, and learning how to explore. And of course that takes mindfulness. And then even with mindfulness, just reflect, well, what does it mean to be mindful? And because it is important to recognize how the Buddha's approach to mindfulness there are many facets to a moment of mindfulness, and just when the Buddha describes mindfulness in the suttas as when he's teaching about being mindful, it's almost always with it's a composite quality of heart, and with about four distinct qualities that come up over and over and over again. Atapi sampajano satima vinaya loke abhichato manasa. Atapi is ardent, so that there's an application of effort, and that's not. It's not a passive. Say, sometimes the mindfulness, like being the passive observer. Sort of, but not really. Too passive is not really. It's not really useful. It's not engaging one's faculties, and then one ends up sort of drifting along with whatever, which is, how do you say, that's not the mantra to be pursuing. It's sort of, whatever. it's not really it's this sense of ardent, putting forth some effort, application, applying effort, and of course effort is always measured in terms of the result. Does it result in the increase of the wholesome, or the increase of the unwholesome? Does it increase the relinquishment of the unwholesome, which is, it's just so useful. So that sense of ardent, putting forth effort, diligence, there's a diligence there. Tapi sampajano. Ajahn Jeff translates it as alert, which is that's a good translation. Because Bhante Sujato and Sutta Central, he translated it as situational awareness, which is a very good translation as well, because it's quite descriptive. Again, that sense of mindfulness not being a static quality, but one that is alert and attentive to the situation that one's in. What is the appropriateness of the response or the reaction or the engagement, and how to adjust to that. So there's a certain discernment that's taking place, assessment. Again, it's not passive. It requires, say mindfulness requires that kind of engagement, and particularly in terms of like with a meditation object. What's the how's the heart responding to the application of attention to the meditation object? Is it settling? Is it wandering? Is it sinking? Is it uplifting? So that it isn't just in terms of how one relates to the external world, it's how one relates to the internal world as well. There's you can't just sort of, I'm going to take the whatever meditation technique, I mean, say taking the breath or Buddho or loving kindness, and just, okay, I'm just going to bash away at this until my mind becomes peaceful. I mean, that's not a technique. It's not really going to satisfy the heart. You need to learn how to apply it so that the heart responds. It's a conversation between the practice and the heart itself. So then learning how to explore that, learning how to communicate with oneself. So it's that sampajano, that clear comprehension is usually how it's translated, and which is a good one. So, and then say atapi sampajano satima, sort of possessed of mindfulness, aware, very aware, clear, mindful of the experience that one is having. And then vinaya loke pichato manasa, say not being pulled by the one's likes and dislikes, the wanting and the not wanting that is just such a part of our experience, and not being overwhelmed by the desire and grief toward the world. And again, whether it's the external world or the internal world, the mind goes to the reactions of desire, of getting excited about something, or being sort of feeling oppressed by something, not being happy about it. So then that's quite ordinary, but it also keeps leading us and keeps us entangled with dukkha, with suffering. So that mindfulness is an essential foundation for this practice, but it requires a reflective agility of mind, to be alert, to be present, to be considering. But again, not considering in a kind of thought out, plotted out, intellectual way, but a presence of mind, a presence of heart. And when one does that, then there's that applying of mindfulness, and there's a natural settling that happens, and to be able to pursue that, to sustain that. There's a very nice description of say the development of samadhi in Majjhima 44, the series of questions and answers with the Bhikkhuni Dhammadina, which, I mean, that's such a rich sutta, but this particular question that's asked, what is samadhi? And her answer, and not just what is samadhi, but what is samadhi? What is the basis or the themes of samadhi? What is the kind of the equipment, the requisites of samadhi? What are the what's the development of samadhi? And Bhikkhuni Dhammadina replies that unification of mind is samadhi. So when the mind unifies or it settles on ekagata, oftentimes it's ekagata citta, that's the Pali. And so it's one-pointedness is a translation. I don't particularly like that translation. Unification is, I think, is maybe a better translation. But then, the mind unifying. And so unifying is where it's actually working together with itself. It's not at odds with itself. And of course it's unified on what its purpose is. I'm sitting here meditating, wanting to be a bit more peaceful, a bit more clear, a bit more settled, still, and so that unifying for that purpose, that unification of mind. But then, what are the themes? Say, what are the themes of that unification, or what's the basis of that unification? And the Buddha says there's the four foundations of mindfulness, so that they. And I mean, she gives the answers, and it's taken to the Buddha, and the Buddha is saying sadhu, sadhu, approves. If you'd asked those questions of me, that's how I would have answered. So that that theme, the basis of samadhi, is these four foundations of mindfulness. So that when that mindfulness is cultivated, when mindfulness is the mind is directed to these aspects of our experience, body, feeling, mind, phenomena. Any of it is a basis of settling, of unifying, of coming together, and it says what qualities are its equipment or its requisites, and the Buddha returns to or Dhammadina returns to the four right efforts. And so whatever effort there is for the for the relinquishing of unwholesome states, qualities, is right effort. Whatever effort there is for the the preventing of unwholesome states to arise is right effort. Whatever effort there is for the bringing into being of wholesome qualities, wholesome states, is right effort. Whatever effort there is for the maintaining of wholesome qualities is right effort. So it's our effort is not say how much sweat is breaking out on our brow, but the effort is what's the result? How does it affect the heart? How clear does it help to establish ourselves, and how much well-being does it help to establish? How much goodness is generated? Then that's the equipment, the requisites for samadhi. And then, well, what is its development? And the Buddha and Dhammadenas just say, it's whatever of any of those qualities that are pursued, they're developed, they're cultivated, that is its development. So that too, we've got such a broad spectrum of what we can be doing in our practice. It's really encouraging. But it's important to have that right view of, well, what is the purpose? What is what are the themes? What are the requisites? What is the essence of what we're doing? So to be paying attention, so that we're reflecting. It's like wisely reflecting, and applying the attention in a skillful way, and whether it's to our actions, our speech, or our internal cultivation, it requires that agility of reflection. So I'll offer that for consideration this evening.